Hello and salutations to all. Welcome to newest edition of Battle in the Trenches. I'm your host, as always, Jonders. I'm joined by a couple of my good buddies. I wouldn't lie to you. Would I lie to you, America? I would not. Hey, so we have Ryan McGinley, Steve Catalano, but before we get to that, hey, we're working hard. And, you know, it's playoff time for you. What we need from you to help you charge the playoffs and get that championship glory is to give Climb the Pocket here on YouTube a thumbs up. And subscribe. Ring that bell, everybody, because you're going to need these sweet, sweet nuggets we're dropping. We're doing everything for you. All we ask for is please give us a thumbs up. Ryan McGinley, please beg the audience some more for a thumbs up.
Jonders, I don't get out of my shell as well as you do, so, I mean, it was beautiful when you did it, but I don't know if I can do that.
I know how to beg. All right, Steve, do you have any comments about why people should thumbs up? Are you going to feed your dog? So, Steve said he's not going to feed his dog unless you...
No, we're not putting that on here.
What?
That's not the circumstance.
You need people to give a thumbs up.
I'm just going to give them the spiel. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us, all the subscribers we've gotten over the last couple weeks, just all the likes, all the comments. Ryan's been helping you guys out down in the comments and whatnot. Videos are getting lots of views, so just want to let you guys know we really appreciate it.
And, you know, it's a holiday season, so, you know, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Ramadan, I don't know. Steve, let's get to it, right? You're done listening to me. What we came for is for the mind of Steve and Ryan. So we want to get, and what's more important than quarterbacks? Let's get to some quarterback starts. Steve, start us off.
This week I'm starting Carson Wentz against the Giants. He's coming off a big game against Miami, so that's not really too much. Their wide receiver core has kind of been, you know, in shambles. But Alshon Jeffrey came back. He caught a touchdown. Miles Sanders getting a lot of work, so I like Carson Wentz versus the Giants. Aaron Rodgers just tore him up.
Steve. Did Carson Wentz win or lose last week against the Miami Dolphins?
They lost, and you're right. We had to bring that up, Ryan. The Miami Dolphins beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and honestly, that's it. But it was a shootout, and Carson Wentz, I can see this game kind of being a shootout as well. Philly's defense is not that great. Obviously, just gave up a bunch of points to the Dolphins. So here we go. Let's roll Wentz out there for a shootout versus New York. And I'm putting Sam Darnold out there versus Miami. Now, last time he played Miami, down in Miami, wasn't a good game for him, and obviously he's coming off a abysmal performance against the Cincinnati Bengals, who have one of the worst defenses in the league. I think it's kind of like a fluke. I think they're going to bounce back, going back home. I like Sam Darnold this week. Trust him in your lineups for Week 14.
Well, hopefully that's a fluke, and Sam Darnold doesn't play like his teammate Luke Falk. Or did they cut him? I think they cut him. Good. He deserves to be out of the league. Get out of here, Luke Falk. Hey, Ryan, who are you starting at quarterback?
One, I don't think I heard any of Steve's comments before that. I just mostly blacked all of that out, and it hurt a little bit. Carson Wentz, I think this is the first time he can be a start all year, so congrats on Steve for scooping up my boy in the only start of all year. But I'm starting Ryan Tannehill against the Oakland Raiders because they have turned into a pumpkin, those Oakland Raiders. They seemingly are just getting shellacked every week. I mean, one of Steve's boys, Sam Darnold, put a beat down on him, and we saw Derek Carr leave in the third quarter because they were done in that game. I think the Raiders are close to packing it in, and I love how Tannehill's played since he's gotten that job. I mean, I've been screaming for him since the offseason. Tannehill has made those wide receivers look like they were supposed to, so he's my main start. I'm also starting Kirk Cousins against the Detroit Lions because the Detroit Lions are in a bit of a funk, especially at the quarterback position. They don't have their main running back, and they're getting close to packing it in as well. And Kirk Cousins needs a win after a tough loss against Jonders' favorite team. He's repping their MVP possibility quarterback on his sweater right now. And I think Kirk Cousins bounces back. He had a huge game. I mean, he had a solid game against your Seattle Seahawks, which is a good defense. His interception was probably Stephon Diggs' fault, and depending on how Dalvin Cook is, they might have to throw the ball somewhere.
I don't know if that was anybody's fault. I think Trey Flowers has made an amazing play. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw an interception like that where the corner just took it away from the wide receiver. But, yeah, let's move on to some sits. Ryan, let's stay with you. Let's get some quarterback sits out of you.
Yeah, well, my first one, I'm sitting Kyler Murray against the Pittsburgh Steelers just because I think Kyler Murray is... They're running out of steam in Arizona. They start off hot, but I think defenses are kind of figuring out what Kyler's trying to do. And the Pittsburgh defense has been a top 5 defense in the league this year. I mean, since they've added Minkah Fitzpatrick, they've been a completely different defense. So I'm really treading lightly with all of those guys. Also, I'm sitting Dak against Chicago. I don't like that matchup just because they've been susceptible to the run, but their pass defense is still tops in the league. I mean, last week Dak didn't have a great game, but he finished with a solid fantasy game. I don't think he gets those type of garbage touchdowns, especially I think that the Bears know that they've got to control the clock, so I'm sitting Dak.
Hey, I'll be at Soldier Field this Thursday, so if you're out there watching this and then you're going to go to the game, buy me a Pepsi. I'll take a selfie with you. Buy me a Pepsi. I will take a selfie with you. Steve, who are you sitting this week?
You know, I'm not trying to pad the touchdowns, but the Seattle Seahawks offense is really good. They're so good. They're just so fun to watch. But that's why that's why I'm sitting Jared Goff, because I think that they're going to get ahead and ahead and ahead. And I think Seattle's a much better team than the Rams. Rams came out and kicked the balls out of Arizona, and I don't see that happening against Seattle. I think Seattle makes a statement game, even though they had a really good game against the Vikings on Monday night. I think that they come out and kind of lay an egg in this one. I mean, usually these NFC West matchups are a little high scoring. I think the Rams are going to struggle to score. Josh Allen, very dependable in your leagues, but he's going against his first real tough matchup in a long time. He came through for you on Thanksgiving against Dallas, which is a tough matchup, but Baltimore is a different animal. San Francisco definitely didn't have that great of a game. That was kind of a bruiser game for both teams there. I see Josh Allen getting shut down for the first time in quite a long time.
So I think Steve's analytics or whatever, his analysis was more entertaining, but I think the Ryan Tannehill start is just smart right there. So I'm going to give the touchdown to Ryan McGinley. Ryan McGinley, since you got that touchdown, why don't you start with your running back starts right now?
Yep. So I'm starting Austin Eckler against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and this might be a little bit because the Jags have Gardner Minshew back, and there might be a little bit more magic. They might have to get up. And that means the Chargers are going to have to throw the ball. It seemed like they realized that Austin Eckler was a more effective back last week. He had that nice wheel route touchdown. Unfortunately, the Chargers lost how they always lose in heartbreak fashion. So I think we should see more Austin Eckler this week. Also, I'm starting Darius Geis against Green Bay. Green Bay has been very susceptible to the run, and Geis has looked super effective in his first couple games back, I guess, technically. So Geis, I think, should be a solid play. Adrian Peterson barely saw the field. He's been a healthy scratch. Chris Thompson was out there a little bit, but it's been Geis mostly. They want to see what Haskins, Geis, and Terry McLaurin can do just as a unit, and I'm excited to see what he can do against a pretty weak rush defense.
Steve, running back starts.
I'm starting Miles Sanders versus the Giants. This goes along with Carson Wentz starting against the Giants. I just kind of like this whole game all around. I think it's going to be kind of a divisional battle. I think it's going to be decently high scoring. So I see Miles Sanders getting involved a lot. Jordan Howard's been out. It's unknown whether he'll play this week or not. Even if he does, I think Miles Sanders is kind of evolving into a guy they want to use week in and week out. He's getting targeted a lot, so I like Miles Sanders. And both Seahawks running backs. Obviously, you're probably starting Chris Carson, but over the last few weeks, we've seen Rashad Penny just kind of break out, and they're trusting him a lot more. He actually got more percentages of the snaps on offense yesterday or on Monday night. Maybe that's because Chris Carson came out for a series or two with that potential concussion scare, but he's very productive. He's kind of worked himself into a flex play. If you have both of them on your team and you're kind of like lacking on the waiver wire or whatnot, maybe your bench doesn't have a good start this week, you might even consider starting both. I know in one of my leagues, in my main league, I'm considering starting Rashad Penny and Chris Carson, just knowing that they love to pound the rock. And like I said, I expect them to be high scoring in this game against the Los Angeles Rams, and I think they're going to continue to do it on the ground. With Tyler Lockett banged up and whatnot, they're going to keep going to this run game. There's plenty of opportunities for both these guys.
You just gave me an idea for an article I might write for Climb the Pocket, the all-streaming team. So you would have Andy Dalton at quarterback, Penny at running back. I'd have to think of some more guys, but that'd be an interesting thing to read. Hey, Steve, why don't we stick with you and do some running back sits?
We're sitting the Chiefs running backs. We don't know what's going on there. LaShawn McCoy, is he the starter? Damian Williams, is he coming back from injury? Darwin Thompson, is he a flyer you want to pick up? Oh, and they're going against the Patriots. That's a horrible matchup. I don't want to risk it. If you made the playoffs, you don't want to risk throwing one of these guys out there. If you have Damian Williams and you need to pick someone up to spot start instead, I'd consider dropping him for sure. And Tevin Coleman at New Orleans. Now, he's a guy I probably wouldn't drop, but with Matt Breida not in there and whatnot, not saying Matt Breida is completely, dependent on what Tevin Coleman's doing and whatnot, but Raheem Mostert has been the much better back over the last couple weeks. And, Tevin Coleman got yanked real early in that game, and Raheem Mostert was given the job. So I kind of see a similar thing happening in this game. And, and New Orleans is really good against the run. So Tevin Coleman seems to have not lost his job, but definitely lost the trust as far as like if he doesn't come out booming right away, the team is willing to pull him out early, and I don't know if I want to take that risk week 1 of the playoffs.
Ryan, do you want to enlighten us with your running back sits, please?
Wait, before I get into this, Steve went with the first level, brown nosing with the Seattle running backs. I understand it's his first year doing anything with you, media wise.
This is relevant.
You see, no, this is relevant because he mentioned Rashad Penny, and anyone that's listened to Jonders over the last 2 years, Jonders is the number one Chris Carson fan maybe in the land, and I mean that. I would not sit Chris Carson for anybody, and
this is where look. I'm not saying sit Chris Carson, but I'm a man who grows. I'm a man who grows. I'm a
you're a grower.
Yeah, I'm a grower. I'm look. Okay, guys, this is what I'm saying. I would love to eat crow on some of the things I've said about Rashard Penny. I would love nothing more for him to break out and to be worth that first round pick. And right now, Steve's right. You got to start him in fantasy.
I mean. For sure. I mean, I'm definitely starting both of them. I'm just saying, you're towing the line with the Chris Carson. Like maybe he's the running back too.
I like the look of this offense with the two running back set. Much better than the Browns offense.
And you know who else is on that offense? Russell Wilson.
Yeah, we know.
All right, Ryan, can you please get this show back on track and talk about your sits?
Yeah. So back on track. I'm sitting Todd Gurley against the Seattle Seahawks because they've got one of the best defensive lines in the league that really no one talks about. I mean, I loved how Jadeveon Clowney's kind of really figuring it out the last couple weeks. I mean, he's been in the backfield seemingly on every play, and they do have who I think should have been a top 10 all-time linebacker, Bobby Wagner, who got snubbed. Which I mean,
all right, stop sucking up. Stop sucking up. Just
Dude, Jonders is loving this.
Regardless. I don't like Todd Gurley this week, just because I think Seattle's defense is too good and they control the ball so well. And I'm also sitting Devin Singletary. He's going against Baltimore. Baltimore's going to do the same thing that I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to do. They're going to play great defense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to control the ball. And those are the two guys I'm sitting, even though usually they're in your lineup.
All right, I'm going to give Steve the touchdown for the running backs.
That's fine.
I got to do it. All right, Steve, you won the touchdown for that one. Let's go to you for wide receivers, Steve. So who are you starting at wide receiver?
It's a pair with Ryan's quarterback starting Tannehill versus Oakland. I'm going to A.J. Brown. They seem to have some sort of connection growing and whatnot, and A.J. Brown is a very talented receiver, very big body. Like I said, the rapport is going together, and I can see him having a heyday against the Oakland Raiders, who have just been kind of in shambles the last few weeks, getting beat up by the Chiefs and the Jets. So I see A.J. Brown potentially being a very big steal for you in this game and winning your first playoff matchup. I'm also starting Cortland Sutton at Houston. Now, Sutton is a guy you're probably having in your lineup anyway, but I just wanted to reiterate that he's got Drew Lock throwing to him now. And we saw last game, Drew Lock was looking for him a lot, and he trusts Sutton, especially in the red zone. So I think he's going to continue to find him more than any other receiver on that team. So definitely throw Sutton out there against that bad Houston defense.
Steve, who you sitting?
I'm Steve.
Yeah, who you sitting?
Yeah,
we're going to the sits.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to the sits. I'm sitting Brandon Cooks for Seattle. This goes along with Seattle's a good team, Los Angeles Rams, don't think they're going to score a lot. Brandon Cooks just has not been trustworthy in your lineup, and I don't like Jared Goff this week. It's kind of just all going together is don't start Brandon Cooks. I'd consider dropping him if you need to pick someone else up. And I'm sitting John Brown versus Baltimore. Like I said, Josh Allen, don't like the matchup. Baltimore just held San Francisco, a pretty booming offense, to 17 points. So I don't like John Brown this week versus Baltimore.
I'm Steve. All right, Ryan, who you sitting?
Hey, listen, I got to do starts first. That's why Steve.
All right, okay, start. Okay, do start. Hey, I'm the host. I'm trying to move things along. Just talking about this isn't helping. Let's go.
I'll win the category. Skip the starts.
When we
Ryan,
get merch,
do your
I just want a shirt that says "I'm Steve." Yeah, it's fine. One, I'm starting Jarvis Landry because they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who are terrible as a team in general. Andy Dalton's back, so your boy, love to see it. But I think that Jarvis Landry has had a solid floor just as a wide receiver. I think defenses know that the Browns want to get Odell involved. I think it's very obvious that Odell's getting targeted. And honestly, Baker's forcing it a little bit, so they're honing in on Odell over the top, across the middle. So Jarvis Landry's open. I think his floor is real low, so I really do like Jarvis Landry. I'm comfortable with playing him as a wide receiver too. I'm also starting Jamison Crowder against the Miami Dolphins. He's a very similar player to Jarvis Landry, where he's a PPR machine. They've got a cupcake matchup against the Miami Dolphins that any good team in the NFL should win, right? You got a good quarterback, and Jamison Crowder should eat this week. So he's a PPR start for me for sure.
Who you sitting, buddy boy?
I'm gonna just accept what's my fate here, and I'm sitting Tyler Lockett this week. I know, because I know how much he means to you. I know how much he means to me, but we both know Tyler Lockett's not healthy, right? His last 2 games, he's got one catch.
I'm thinking about buying myself one of those 16 Action Green jerseys for Christmas.
That's fine.
I heard he was sick.
It'll be clean. Dude, I mean, we also heard Todd Gurley was sick and whatnot.
He hasn't been good.
So this has nothing to do with the matchup. This is because you don't think he's healthy.
I don't think he's healthy,
okay.
no. And the problem is playing one of your studs when he doesn't seem healthy. Like, he doesn't look like Tyler Lockett. We don't see that deep, sweeping across the middle route that we usually see out of him, where Russell Wilson just drops it in the basket and you're like, oh, that was the easiest play of all time. Why don't they run that off? We don't see that. And I think that they can win. They know that they can win this game just running the ball and just maintaining it. So I don't start him this week.
Okay.
Also, in the same game, I'm sitting Robert Woods because Robert Woods looked electric last week. He got 15 catches. I mean, I played against him in fantasy. I stopped counting after 11. So Robert Woods, he looked good last week, but he's playing Seattle, and I don't think that this game's going to be a passing game. I think this is one of those classic Russell Wilson games where he has 190 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, and they come out victorious. It's not a game where I see it being high scoring. So I'm sitting most of the pass-catching options in this game.
So I've decided that I do not want to write that article I just came up with, and I'll be handing it off to whoever wins this game. So just a little extra weight. I'm giving you homework.
Where? ClimbThePocket.com?
Yeah, on ClimbThePocket.com. Or whatever. You guys can figure out. Do you want the loser to write it or the winner to write it?
It depends what happens with me, If I win.
Do you want to write it?
Ryan's going to write the article. Move on.
It's a great article. It's a good article idea. I just don't want to do the research.
Yeah.
Who won the touchdown? Who got the touchdown?
Steve, you won. Steve, you got the touchdown. Yeah. So that's 21-7. Steve lead right here. Let's give Ryan a chance to kind of rebound here. We're going to go to him for tight ends first. So tight end starts.
Listen, I'm first. Somehow it's 21-7. So this game's under protest. And 2.
Well, some wacky things happen at the end of these episodes. Who knows what could happen?
Yeah, we know the Mario stars. We get it.
Anyway, I'm starting the jack of all trades against Tampa Bay. I'm starting Jack Doyle. Eric Ebron's out for the year. Doyle has been very effective. Last week, he looked like a solid tight end 1. I think that the passing game for that team is brutal without T.Y. Hilton at full strength. I don't think T.Y. is going to even suit up this week. They don't have a run game, really. I mean, they've got Jonathan Williams back there. They've had Jordan Wilkins, Naheem Hines. But, I mean, this is 2019. We need to have a passing offense in the NFL, and Jack Doyle seemingly is their best guy, besides maybe Zach Pascal without T.Y. Hilton. So I'm starting Jack Doyle. And do you want my sits?
Let's take your sits.
Yeah. I'm sitting Jared Cook against San Fran because that defense is disgusting. And if you've watched the Saints the last couple weeks, Jared Cook has had a couple balls hit him directly in the hands. And they've got Michael Thomas on their team who had his first drop in 400 days. So just to me, if I'm Drew Brees, I know you trust Jared Cook because he's a wily vet and he's a great tight end, but I still half think about just throwing it to Michael Thomas all the time, so I'm not playing Jared Cook this week.
Okay, this is what I want to do for the win. I see Steve's tight end here that he has written in the notes. I want him to defend that as a start and not something that's obvious to everybody to start. So I want him to defend this as a start sit, even in the question, or because we also didn't say start Russell Wilson. Oh, that's the timer. Okay, so we have to get going here. So this is gonna be the last thing we talk about. I want you, Steve, to defend Kyle Rudolph as a start and not as an obvious thing that everybody should do.
Kyle Rudolph is the one-handed purple cyborg.
Not helping out. No, I'm going to re-explain this to you, Steve, because I don't think you got off to a good foot here. I think it's obvious that everybody is going to start Kyle Rudolph if they have him. So why? Because he has 6 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks.
He's balling.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is we also didn't tell America to start Russell Wilson. We didn't tell America to start Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but Kyle Rudolph isn't like George Kittle or Travis Kelce, who's an automatic
now.
start.
He is now.
You might have Hunter Henry and Kyle Rudolph, but you might bench Hunter Henry for Kyle Rudolph. It's a decision you have to make, which is the reason he's featured in this show. Now, if you want me to defend him more and more, that's fine. But I'm saying it's not obvious. Kyle Rudolph needs to be starting against the Detroit Lions because it's going to be a high-scoring affair, and he's getting targeted in the red zone just like Kirk used to do with Jordan Reed back in Washington. It's finally coming out. He was a big sleeper I had last year. Didn't pan out, but it's starting to pan out with him and Kirk. They're gaining that connection. Kirk loves to throw to his tight ends, and it's coming out now. And he's catching every ball with one hand,
Steve,
and it looks so cool.
The reason I allowed you to have the Seahawks running backs in here because you said that you were thinking about starting them.
Let Ryan
interesting.
defend
That's
something. Because I feel like what I said is what the listeners need to hear.
That's what everybody knows. But what I'm saying is like starting 2 Seahawks running backs is interesting. That's why I didn't make a big stink about that. But Ryan, do you see? What
I
I'm
bring
saying
the
here?
interestingness to this show right now, and this is what you give me.
Ryan, do you see what I'm saying about Kyle Rudolph?
So, what you're saying is he feels like a slam dunk tight end.
Yeah.
What you like
Jack
to hear
Doyle is a
some
slam
saying,
dunk tight end versus the Buccaneers.
Tony,
Eric Ebron's on IR, and Jack Doyle got targeted heavily, and everyone saw that coming last week, and it's happening again because Tampa Bay is bad. So you don't see that's going to happen again? That's not a slam dunk?
No, because he doesn't have 6 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks.
I'm throwing in the towel.
All right, yeah, good. You should because Ryan just won.
I feel
Ryan,
good.
do you want to tell people to subscribe and stuff? And then are you going to be writing that article that I suggested or not?
Sit Vance McDonald's.
Steve, did Steve hang up? No, he's still on. Hey, so...
No, Steve's still on the phone. Yeah, subscribe to our channel. I mean, I think we've gained 50 or so subs in the last 3 weeks, which has been huge. All the time.
Christmas giveaway. We're going to do a Christmas giveaway because I just decided that. So we'll figure out. We'll do a Madden code or something, or we'll get people to vote on what they want.
We'll figure it out.
We'll give out a Christmas Hanukkah present this year.
China jersey.
No China jerseys. Come on, Steve. Oh, man. You lost next week now.
Bad for the brand.
Well, I'm glad that the gang's back together, and those are football glasses. I didn't fully realize that. But, yeah, I'm glad to fire up another show. We'll be back at it next week, and if you think we're not going to put stuff out in the off-season, you're crazy because we'll do all that stuff. So
I know this show kind of seemed like a joke, but we want you to win your Week 14 matchup, round 1 of the playoffs.
I mean, all my information was good.
It was legit. It was legit.
Hey, I hope everybody starts Kyle Rudolph. If you were, but what I'm saying...
For the game. I understand what you were going for, but I wasn't going to hold back what I wanted to tell the people.
Get home safe.
And I'm not a good fantasy analyst, apparently.
Get home safe, everybody. All right.
Don't listen to me. I got to go.
All right, bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.